this country.
In 2018, Florida restored voting rights to 1.4 million Floridians with felony convictions on their record. Almost immediately, predictably, Republicans sought to limit those rights by instituting what critics call a modern-day poll tax, requiring former felons to clear their court debts before they could vote. And now they're trying to stop those debts from being paid. The state attorney general this week called for a criminal investigation into billionaire Michael Bloomberg for raising millions to pay fines and fees on behalf of would-be voters. Joining me now are Desmond Meade, president of the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition and author of Let My People Vote, love that title, and Latosha Brown, who I adore. She's the co-founder of Black Voters Matter. I'm going to go to you first on this, Desmond, because this is something that I am so passionate about. I wrote about it extensively in my book, and I encourage people to look at how this law even came to be. It stemmed out of slavery. It stemmed out of people trying to keep Black people from the polls, and it's being perpetuated even today. First, I'll ask you, in addition to all your accolades, including an author, but you're also a law school graduate. Is what Michael Bloomberg and LeBron James, who also contributed a significant amount of money to the effort as well, is what they're doing illegal?
Tiffany, first of all, thank you for having me on your show. And I have to separate that because Michael Bloomberg has not given anything yet. And so whatever the Attorney General is talking about, I think it's really premature. But what I can tell you is over 66,000 Americans, to include LeBron James, to include Michael Jordan. And then just last night, we had Ariana Grande also contribute to our fund, all right, to actually free the vote in Florida. And that right there is perfectly fine because all we're doing is clearing a pathway so that any American citizen who served their time and if they want to participate in our democracy, they have an opportunity to do so. No American citizen should be forced to have to choose between putting food on their kid's plate or voting. Voting should be unencumbered and free.
You know, it's interesting. When we say give me liberty or give me death, it's celebrated. When we say give me a right to vote, it depends on what you look like. See how we feel. And I want to just tell our viewers, we're not talking about some $20 court fees here. No. These fees are quite substantial. When I wrote about it in my book, I want to say a Florida news outlet reported that more than $1 billion, that's billion with a B, is used in felony fines. That's how much was issued between 2013 and 2018. So essentially, people with felony convictions are funding a system that is actively oppressing them, something a lot of people across this country are certainly familiar with. So, Latosha, with that, I want to turn to you. Florida is obviously a huge issue. The first major news story I had as a young budding journalist back in 2000 was Bush v. Gore, which obviously centered Florida. However, this election cycle, there are so many other states with voter suppression operations underway right now. You are on a bus. You are, I believe, in Pennsylvania right now. You've pulled over just to do this interview, so I'm forever in your gratitude for doing that. What do you think we should be focused on as we look at these voter suppression operations across the country that are, quite frankly, GOP-led, GOP-funded, and has the base fueling this idea to Donald Trump that let's perpetuate this idea that they're cheating if we win? What should we as the people be focused on?
So we need to know that voter suppression is the main, that is going to be the major way that we're talking about undermining and unraveling democracy in this country. This coming Tuesday in Wisconsin, the Supreme Court in Wisconsin will actually make a determination whether 129,000 voters will be dropped from the voting rolls, while the state is actually being sued by an interest group led and fueled by Republican legislators that want to force the 129,000 people, mostly African-American and students, to be dropped from the voting rolls so that they can't participate in this election cycle. We're also looking at that in Georgia as we speak right now. There are 200 200,000 people who have been illegally and unjustly placed on a voting roll that by the Secretary of State, who did not even get a licensee to create his list from, which is required by the National Voting Rights Act. And so what we're seeing is these egregious acts all across the country where bad actors are literally undermining democracy by taking people off the voting rolls. And so as citizens, one, we've got to hold people accountable. We've got to make sure part of the reason why it continues to happen is because we're not holding people accountable. It happened in 2018 in Georgia. And what happened? The governor essentially stole the election and got a promotion, right? We're seeing the same thing with Raffensperger. We're seeing him say, well, yes, those 200,000 people, he hasn't said anything about the 200,000 people he's erroneously taken off the polls, but yet he focuses on, oh, there's 1,000 that may have voted twice. And if that was the case, it was certainly his fault because he's supposed to manage the process.
Well, so I want to bring up something that's interesting here, because you do have voter suppression operations all across the country. You also have disinformation campaigns that are being fueled by some of our foreign adversaries, not just Russia, but they're even, Iran has already tried to infiltrate our election systems. And so something that I know I found frustrating is there's always this effort to center Trump voters or swing voters or people in red states. And there's not a big effort to talk to people who may not be paying attention. On the other side of the aisle, there's no problem reaching out to NASCAR dads. But on our side of the divide, there always seems to be kind of lackadaisical response. With that, I want to show you some video. There is a video of some women who are dancers who put out this video that brings you right in when you see them dancing. And then it cuts at like 15 seconds where they have a message for voting. Let's play that video now.
It's clear Black lives don't matter to some of our current elected officials.
If they matter to you,
Then don't let other people decide who's going to run your community.
get your booty to the poll.
Get your booty to the poll.
Get your booty to the poll.
Get your vote, yeah, vote.
I mean, I like it. Some people didn't like it, but I think, this speaks to a demographic that nobody else is speaking to. Why is it so controversial? Desmond, I wanted to get your thoughts on it, but I'm being told we're running out of time because there's so much happening in the country today. But you both have already provided such a dearth of information. And so I thank you for taking the time to talk to us today. And Desmond, I'm going to keep my eye laser focused on what's happening in Florida. And Latosha, you and I talk all the time, so I'll definitely keep in touch with you both as we watch what happens as this election unfolds. Thank you, Desmond Meade and Latosha Brown. Up next, the growing health and economic toll of the pandemic. We'll hear what the doctors have to say when we come back. You're not going to want to miss this.